All right, Gophers fans, we are wrapping it up, Gophers fans. We are talking about the secondary and our position group wrap-ups, and then we're also going to talk about the North Carolina quarterbacks because who's going to be the quarterback? If you have two, you have none.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Gopher fans? You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Today, we're breaking down the final position groups for the Golden Gophers, talking about cornerbacks, talking about safeties and nickels, and who we think the depth charts could be, the rotations, and then also maybe a wild card player if they get on the field, and finally, the depth and probably won't see the field in 2024. We're breaking all that down to wrap up our position groups, which we've done all of the other position groups so far. And then we're also going to talk about the North Carolina quarterbacks to kick this one off because the coach has not named a team or a starting quarterback yet, and he doesn't plan to up until the game. He even mentioned that he might run multiple quarterbacks in the game against the Gophers. What does that mean for Minnesota? We're going to dive into that to kick off today's show. So be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube so you don't miss any of your daily Gophers content moving forward. And on top of that, if you listen on audio platforms, be sure to hit subscribe, be sure to hit follow at Locked On Golden Gophers, and leave a 5-star review so others can find the show. Now, like I said, we're going to dive in and talk about the North Carolina quarterback room. But before I do that, I want to tease tomorrow's show because I actually recorded it tonight. And we are doing a prediction show with Tristan Spanford back for it, year 3. And let me tell you, it's going to be a good one. We do some predictions on the overall season and maybe some players we're looking forward to and whatnot. And then we talk about North Carolina in specific. Who's going to be the offensive player of the game? Who's going to be the defensive player of the game? Who's going to have the most receiving yards, most tackles, and what have you? We're throwing it all out, and our biggest worry of the game. We're diving into that tomorrow. So be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube or follow on podcast so you don't miss that show, because I absolutely love our prediction shows the most in this Golden Gopher season. Now, we're going to talk about the North Carolina quarterbacks room because who will be the real quarterback one? That's the biggest question for the Gophers heading into this weekend, or not even this weekend, this Thursday when they take on the North Carolina Tar Heels, because they have to prep for both quarterbacks. And that gives you a little bit of extra things to do because these quarterbacks have very different playing styles, which means you're prepping for both different types of offensive strategies or play styles in this game, which makes you prep for a lot more, in my opinion. So that could be tough, or you could just take a shot and hope you pick the right one, but that's risky in its own right. Now, when we're looking at this North Carolina quarterback room, that's one of the biggest question marks of theirs heading into the week 1 matchup. Last year, these two teams played, and we knew who would be at the helm for the North Carolina Tar Heels. It was Drake May, one of the brightest young stars in the college football landscape, and he balled out. In that matchup, Drake May had his most yardage in a single game last season with 414 yards on 40 attempts for 72 completion percentage with 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. Now, if you look at the box score, the Gophers got absolutely ran over in this game. But if you actually watched the game, it was a little bit closer throughout most of the game. I think they really pulled away in the late 3rd, early 4th. And a lot of it came to giving up a few explosives that shouldn't have been given up, but also missing on 2 huge explosives that would have been potentially big scoring opportunities for the Gophers. So in the end, it was just too much. Now, this year's North Carolina quarterback room still has talent. It still has quality players, but it is definitely a drop-off from both Drake May and even his predecessor in Sam Howell. The Tar Heels have 3 quarterbacks, but I don't think any of their quarterbacks are NFL-level players like Sam Howell and Drake May before them. Now, I think they have 3 quarterbacks, but 2 of them have really been battling it out here late in the fall camp. So I believe it's narrowed down to those 2. The 3rd quarterback, who I believe is QB3 now, is none other than Connor Harrell. He's the youngest guy in the room, a redshirt sophomore. He saw action in the bowl game last year, but they lost that bowl game 30-10, and he had 199 yards, 67 completion percentage, but he had 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, and that's just not going to get it done. Now, he must not have made enough strides to take over the job, so now it's between a new transfer and an old returning face transferring back in. So that being said, the quarterback one battle is between transfer from Texas A&M Max Johnson, who is the son of former Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson, and the returning transfer Jacoby Criswell, who initially lost out on the quarterback competition against Drake May in 2022, and then he tried to be the quarterback one at Arkansas last year, but he lost that battle as well to KJ Jefferson, and now he is back and hoping to take the job once again. So with Max Johnson, you definitely have more experience. You have a guy who has started games not only at Texas A&M, but prior to that, when he was at LSU as well. He's been a starter for both of those major Power 5 SEC programs. So he has big time experience under his belt. And like I said, 2 seasons with LSU, 2 seasons with Texas A&M. But that being said, I don't believe he has finished an entire season as a starting quarterback in any of those 4 seasons with the 2 programs. So he's a guy that hasn't gotten the job done in a full season's capacity at any stop or destination in his 4-year career. Now, his best year at LSU was in 2021, where he passed for 60% completion, which is about average. And he had 2,815 yards with 27 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That's not too bad. Then you go to Texas A&M. Last year was his best year with 62%, 1,452 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He did not finish the job out with them. Connor Weigman took over that job and never looked back. Now, Max Johnson is a pocket passer. He is a safer play, and he has a lot more experience. But on the other side, Jacoby Criswell is a guy who has been in the system for multiple years. He was here when Sam Howell was here. He was here when Drake May was here. He battled with Drake May and ended up losing right before the first week. Criswell is more of that dual threat athlete. He can get it down on the ground, but he also can do it as a passer. He has a really big arm, and now he's experienced another system as well in Arkansas. Maybe that helps him elevate his game. Maybe it helps elevate his leadership, having been to another program and knowing what it takes just to play at a power conference in the SEC and now back in the ACC. I will be curious to see what happens with him. But overall, he is a guy that supposedly gave Drake May a run for his money in 2022. So that tells you the level of talent he has. Now, over his sporadic playing time, because he hasn't gotten a whole lot, he has had 347 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Now, head coach Mac Brown says he is going to play two quarterbacks in this game against the Gophers, and he would love to play 2 quarterbacks for the full season. But we know the saying. You know it. I know it. If you have 2 quarterbacks, then you have none. You cannot have 2 quarterbacks. It just causes more problems. It causes difficulties rallying behind your leader and your guy at the helm. I will be curious if that is all smoke, as both of these coaches, Mac Brown and PJ Fleck, love to play media games. They love to keep everything unknown and keep as much as they can in-house. And I think that could be a little bit of what is at play. If I had to take a guess, I'm guessing Max Johnson probably wins this job, but I wouldn't put it past him to start Jacoby Criswell, who has been in this program for many years. Now, we're going to know soon enough on Thursday in game 1 for your Gophers season. So definitely tap in, get ready for the kickoff. I am excited. I'm stoked. And now we're going to dive into our final 2 groupings for breaking down the depth charts, cornerbacks, and then the nickels and the safeties. That's what's coming up next. First, I want to talk to you about new friends of the show, 5 Hour Energy, because look, I'm a new father and I am up at all times of the night. I don't know. Some days it feels like we're getting the system down and we're finally getting a baby who can sleep through the night. And then the next night he is like, psych. And all of a sudden he's up at 3, he's up at 5, he's up at 1. It doesn't matter. He's up when he wants to be. And I would not make it through the rest of the day if it wasn't for 5 Hour Energy, because 5 Hour Energy has 0 sugar. It's convenient. It's a portable size, and it's the perfect pick me up for getting stuff done. And on top of that, they have a ton of different flavors to choose from on their website. Now, on the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and flavors you choose, and it's delivered right to your door. So you're definitely going to want to give it a try. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get 5 Hour Energy products today. You can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until the end of September, so you're going to want to hurry up and get it in today. So go to 5hourenergy.com. Again, that's 5, the number 5, hourenergy.com. All right, Gophers fans, we're going to break down the cornerbacks room first. So we're going to talk about the depth chart, and the cornerbacks room is one that I have a lot of excitement for. You have your consistent starters. You have guys who have a lot of experience under their belt, and they'll probably be the first two up. First, it's Justin Wally. He is a 4-year starter for the Gophers. Wally had a down year by his standards, according to PFF's grading system last year, but even in a supposed down year, he had 41 tackles, which is the most of his career in a single season, 8 pass breakups, which is, again, the most in his single season in his career. And then he had a forced fumble and interception. Now, the interception and the turnovers were down. He gave up a little bit more yardage. But overall, Justin Wally still proved he is a quality cornerback, a number 1 cornerback, and an NFL prospect. Now, the 3-year starter is looking to put up big numbers once again in year 4 and be yet another Gopher DB to go to the NFL. And I think he's going to make it happen. So I'm looking forward to Justin Wally. Now, across from him, you've got Ethan Robinson, an all-Patriot League first-team player last season with Bucknell. He will be filling the Trayvon Jones role. In his 3 years at Bucknell, he played in 31 games and gave a lot of experience. He had 153 tackles during his career there, 6.5 tackles for loss, 25 pass breakups, and 5 interceptions with 2 forced fumbles. He is now looking to show out and shut down as a starting cornerback in the Big Ten and really make a name for himself. And I think he can do just that. I think he has the skill set. I think he has the size. I think he has the versatility to make an impact right away. Now, you go to the rotation for the cornerbacks in this Gophers room. You have 2 young guys that I think have a lot of upside and could be the future starters of this program starting even in 2025. The first is Zaquan Bryan. You've heard me talk about him on the show because that's my dude. I think he's going to be a stud for the Golden Gophers, and I can't wait for him to get opportunities on the field. Now, he's got speed. He's got aggression. He's got physicality. Those words describe Zaquan to a T, and they are also why I believe he will be a key corner for Minnesota in this upcoming season and beyond. I believe he is the first man up when it comes to the rotation for the cornerback room, and if he capitalizes on that opportunity, he will be a starter next season. I have no doubts. So the former All-State Georgia wide receiver lays one heck of an impact when he is tackling. He also had a major pass breakup against Fannin Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green last year, who was one of the best tight ends in the country, and he laid some impact, popped out a ball on 3rd down, which was a key play to try and get the first. And I believe Fannin Jr. was shooken up after the play. That tells you how big of a hitter that Zaquan Bryan is, and I really look forward to him and what he can do in this upcoming season. Now, beyond him in that rotation, Rylan Kelly is another name to know. He has been developing in the background with the Gophers for the past couple years, and I think he is ready to make an impact this season. Now, some strengths of his include his length and his athleticism, and some say, or many have been saying that they think he is very similar to another Canadian. He is a Canadian himself that used to play for the Gophers, and that is Benjamin St-Juste. So if he can live up to that style of play and that type of athleticism, I mean, Benjamin St-Juste is balling out in the NFL, and hopefully we can see Rylan Kelly take that same type of step up and approach here with the Gophers. Now, my wild card with upside, if they see time on the field this year, is Mike Gerald. Mike Gerald is a true freshman. He looks the part. He early enrolled. He caught on quick here with the Gophers, and he held his own, and he seems to be the cornerback 5 in the rotation right now. So he could easily at some point see time in this season, and he could be a key player in 2025. He's a 3-star cornerback from Texas, so he knows football. Now, he only played 2 games defensively as a senior, and in those 2 games, he had 15 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, and an interception. So the dude is a natural when it comes to being a defensive stalwart. Now, that's not bad at all for stats for a 2-game sample size. Now, also, he played a lot of wide receivers, so he has a knack for the ball, an understanding or instinct in getting his hands up, which can be a quality skill set for a cornerback. Now, depth probably, or players that are on the depth chart that probably won't see time in 2024, but could be building in the background. Some younger guys, especially Samuel Madu is a big name cornerback and a true freshman this upcoming season. I think he redshirts, but he could be a future player for this team. Evan Redding, walk-on, who used to be a receiver and flipped to cornerback. I like what I've seen from him in the fall camp. Jordan Greenhow, Harrison Brunn, and Simon Seidel, who got hurt in the fall camp and probably will not playing this season. I think all of those guys have some upside. I think all of those guys could be guys that maybe push for time in future years, but I just don't see a lot of defensive snaps for them in 2024. Now, that's me flying through the cornerbacks room. Today's going to be a shorter show, but I do want to talk about our safeties and our nickels, and that's what's coming up next here at Locked On Golden Gophers. First, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Ultimate College Football Head Coach, because Locked On Gophers fans, it's time for you to take this movement on the road. If you want to build up your program, be the head coach, and make all the decisions from recruiting to scholarships, every crucial detail that your program needs, it is in your hands. Well, it's time to download the free app, completely free, in Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It's completely free. It has no ads, which is a major perk. And on top of that, it is 100% playable offline. So you can play on the go as you want and when you want. And of course, when you have another motivation factor, that is because you listeners of Locked On Golden Gophers get to use the promo code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free program boost. Make sure you take advantage of that, because they can help you compete for a national championship right away. So go download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or you can look it up in the app stores at Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Now, we're also going to talk about our friends over with Ibotta, because Ibotta is the app that you're definitely going to want to download to get some savings your way. Are you taking a dream vacation this summer, or even maybe in the winter and you need to prep now, but you're dreading the cost? Well, with Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories instead of less time dreaming about them and actually doing them. Now, Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. And the average Ibotta user saves or earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or a fancy dinner that you have been waiting to take out that special someone. So you can save on 2,400 brands and shop over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and so much more. So it's time you joined over 50 million users. Download the Ibotta app. And right now, Locked On College Football listeners, Locked On Golden Gophers listeners can get $5 straight to your account when you register by using promo code Locked On College. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, that's IBOTTA, to start earning cash back, and use promo code Locked On College for $5 in your account immediately. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Stores, and use promo code Locked On College. All right, Gophers fans, we are wrapping up today's show and wrapping up the position group talks with the nickel and the safeties in this Gophers room. Now, the safeties is the biggest question mark. And first of all, before I dive in, people might be saying, why are you grouping the nickels and the safeties together? Well, when the Gophers do indie drills, when they break off into indie drills and they work with their individual coaches, position coaches, the nickels always work with the safeties coach and Danny Collins and with those other safeties. So that's why we're grouping them together here. Now, when you're talking about the starters for the safeties, that's the biggest question mark here. I could be completely wrong in my guess on the safeties depth chart here, because the last practices we saw, they were still rotating players, and that was like a week and a half ago. So who knows who could have actually earned the role, or if they still haven't decided at this point in time. I think there's 4 guys that could be in the consideration for the safety starters positions. That's Aiden Gooseby, Kerry Brown, Darius Green, and Coleman Bryson. Now, in this show, I'm going to lock in Aiden Gooseby and Kerry Brown as my 2 starters. But again, it could be any of those 4 guys. I think it's going to be Aiden Gooseby as one of them. And then I think the other one comes down to Kerry Brown or Darius Green. But Darius Green was coming back from injuries a lot of this offseason. So I don't know if he's fully up to speed right now, or if he's still making his way back. If he's making his way back, Kerry Brown could have made enough ground to be the starter. Now, Aiden Gooseby and Darius Green both had moments of flash last year, and they both had moments of struggle last year. Now, you hope that they can, after being on the field, after getting some game time experience and whatnot, that they can take the next step and they can start to round it off, start to be complete, and start to be giving up less big plays or giving up less missed tackles or what have you, and stepping into that potential. Now, we've seen minor blemishes with safeties, especially in their younger years. Tyler Nubin had his times. Jordan Howden had his times. But eventually, they start to step up and they start to elevate themselves. And if you don't, that's when all of a sudden somebody else can take the job. So I think this job is up for grabs, but I think that they're going to get the first shots, both Aiden Gooseby, and in my opinion, it's going to be Kerry Brown. Now, Kerry Brown was tied for the second best tackle grade on the team last season behind Tyler Nubin, along with Matt Kingsbury. So I believe that's a benefiting factor for him, because as a true freshman getting thrown into a couple games towards the end of the year, he held his own. And I think that's something that he can continue to build upon. So Kerry Brown, I'm very intrigued by. I think he could be a long-term starter for the Gophers, and I have a lot of hopes in his upside. Now, Aiden Gooseby is a player that has a lot of athleticism. He has the speed. It's just getting it all together as far as getting that play speed up to game speed. And I think if he does that, he can clean up some of the errors. Now, there's been moments of flash in this fall camp. He had some really big plays, a big turnover on one of the practices we were able to attend. So I am in no ways trying to hate on Aiden Gooseby or Darius Green. I think that both of them had moments where they got burnt, and they have had moments where they have flashed a ton in this offseason. So if you can continue to build that consistency and that flash, that is when Gophers fans will get over the past and look forward to the future. So Aiden Gooseby, Kerry Brown, I think are the locks for starters when it comes to your safety position. But again, this is the most toss-up of all of the Gophers positions. And then at the nickel position, you lock in Jack Henderson, who played the most snaps by far at the position last year. He stepped in. He played more snaps than what Flip Dixon played in the nickel the year before, and I think he played very well. And he's coming from the FCS to the FBS, and I think he held his own. He got one of the interceptions against Drake May, and I think he's going to capitalize and have more turnovers created this year. I think he's going to play faster. He's going to play more violent, and I think he's going to fit this Coach Corey Heatherman system very well. I think he's going to be a player that Coach Corey Heatherman utilizes a ton. Him, Cody Lindenberg, Maverick Baranowski, those three players are going to see a lot of opportunities with Corey Heatherman at the defensive coordinator position. I think Jack Henderson's going to have his best season yet and could put his name into NFL conversations. So those are my three starters that I'm going to say my best guess: Aiden Gooseby, Kerry Brown, and Jack Henderson. So that means the rotation when it comes to these players. First guy up is going to be Darius Green. I think Darius Green is going to be an opportunity to start, but I think that he proved that he can play at this level last season. Now, this Gophers defense struggled the most over the last 5 years than any other Gophers defense. So it's not a lock for his job, and he has to earn it. And I think the Gophers team really values the experience he brought and how quickly he triggers to the ball, but he's definitely going to have to clean up some of the pass coverage because he had issues in some of those departments. But Darius Green has a lot of upside. Another player in the rotation is going to be Coleman Bryson. He was the bowl game MVP just 2 years ago. So he is a player, or was it 2 years ago or was it last year? No, Darius Taylor was last year. So yes, 2 years ago, Pinstripe Bowl. Coleman Bryson got it done, was the MVP, had a pick six, returned it all the way. He has a lot of upside. He is a guy that could work his way in. I don't know if he's going to get the first shot to start, but I think he will find a way to rotate. That's one thing Coach Fleck and Coach Heatherman have talked about, is in this system, they have found ways to rotate more safeties into play, into the lineup to get more opportunities. So it doesn't have to necessarily be just two guys getting a majority of the snaps. So you might see all four of these guys getting snaps at safety, being more creative, being more impactful, getting fresh legs on the field. We'll see what happens there. It's one of my biggest questions heading into the North Carolina matchup. So those are my top four safeties. Another safety to really consider is Coy Parrish, 4-star phenom. They're going to find a way to get this guy on the field. He is not going to redshirt in this season, plain and simple. They're not going to let him redshirt. They're going to find ways to make him on the field and make him have impact. It could be in the return game, could be in the punt game, could be on the defensive side of things. And as he gets more immersed into it and it slows down for him, he'll get more and more reps. So Coy Parrish is going to be involved in some capacity. It's just at what level? Because when Ohio State and Florida State are the teams you're fending off, look, you're playing the kid, plain and simple. You're finding a way to get him on the field, and he can be a difference maker. Now, beyond him, those are the true safeties that I would say are on the field. Giante McMillan and Craig McDonald are two guys that could play the nickel. I've also seen Giante rotate into a true safety spot at times, so he has the versatility between both positions. I think that's the deep safeties room that you could see. What is that? I've listed off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. There's 8 guys that could really see snaps at some capacity this year. Now, will they all see above 300 snaps? Absolutely not. But I think that a lot of these guys could get moments of play in the season and be impact players. So I'm looking forward to it. Craig McDonald transferred in from Auburn just 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. I look forward to him. I think he's the next man up behind Jack Henderson. So I do think he'll get some run this year. And then Jonathan McMillan has that versatility of both areas. Now, the wild card for me, if they get on the field, is Garrison Monroe. He has a lot of upside. He saw a lot of opportunities in the spring. I don't think he's going to get on the field this season, but he's a guy that could keep his name into the conversations moving forward as guys like Jack Henderson, as guys like Craig McDonald start to age out and lose eligibility. He's a guy that could step up into some of those vacant spots and see opportunity. Now, finally, the depth that probably won't see time in 2024 for me, Zahir Rayner. Love the kid. I think he could be a Sam linebacker and nickel type player and make a huge impact. He is a big fan of Antoine Winfield, and I think that he is locked into the Gophers and the Gophers are locked into him. So I look forward to how his career develops, but I think he redshirts in this season and plays a bigger impact down the line. Chris Flowers, Obey Yaffe, Jackson Powers, Ethan Carrier. I think all of those guys are walk-ons. I think all of those guys bring a lot of value to this team, but I don't see them getting opportunities on the defensive side of things. But I do think some of them could make impacts on special teams. So we'll see what happens. But the Gophers team is going to play their first game in just a matter of days. I can't wait. North Carolina is coming to town, and I think the Gophers could pull the upset, especially now that they are underdogs when it comes to Vegas. Now, tomorrow we're doing our prediction show with Tristan Spanford, so you're definitely going to want to tap in. It's fun. If you have not listened, he is coming back. This is his 3rd year in doing predictions with us. His brother also just made the Cowboys roster, so we are stoked. We talk about that a little bit, including his jersey number, if you want to know a little bit more on that. I'll see you then. Roll the boat, Sky Imago Gophers, as always, and please don't forget to hit subscribe.